Well, I don't know how interesting of a story it is, but the crux of it all is that I kind of started working on tech policy at an early age. I got the opportunity to intern on Capitol Hill when I was in college, between my freshman and sophomore year, I think it was, and so I went to DC. I was one of those free unpaid interns that you hear about, and I worked in the United States Senate for the state of Ohio senator. And it was an amazing experience. I was 17 years old, and I didn't know what to expect. I think I'd been to DC, in high school, and had visited a few times, but didn't really have any passion for it. And then when we just had the opportunity to intern for this new incoming senator, and the neat things I got to do were I got to kind of serve constituents. So I got to help answer emails and paper mail from constituents. This was also during a time when, this is 1995, so the internet was just coming out. And one of the things I was doing while going back kind of to the dorms while I was living in DC was starting to program HTML and making web pages.
Wow.
And this is before the Senate had a website.
Yeah.
And so I got the opportunity because someone I worked for there on the Hill saw that I was playing with HTML, and they said, "Okay, you're going to get to make the senator's first website." And so that was a crazy thing you get to do during a college internship.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then I got to work on some tech policy too, which was an amazing opportunity, right? So a lot of the technology policy that was happening at the time were the Telecommunication Act of 1996 was being written while I was there. So I got to help senators and policymakers understand what the internet was.
Wow.
Yay.
And so really tried to help explain, kind of what the impacts of certain levers and switches on the for legislation were about. And that really kind of helped me understand, like, okay, so this is really how the sausage gets made.
Yeah.
People that are writing a lot of legislation have probably little to no understanding of what they're writing about.
Yeah.
They have a lot of policy wonks and a lot of lobbyists coming and telling them why they need laws written certain ways.
Sure.
And so as just kind of this lowly intern, I got to go and explain to my senator, here's how all this works, and here's why writing it this way would have an impact on this or that. And so it was an amazing experience for me. It got me hooked on talking about policy and understanding why, these types of things matter. And on the other side, on the tech side of it, it was really neat because we ended up being the second senator on the web by one day. We missed it. Senator John Ashcroft was the first senator, and then my senator was second. And so it was a really neat experience. It was the first public website that I had ever made. So it was very rudimentary. But at the time, it still lays the foundation of how all Senate websites are kind of laid out.
Oh, really?
Like where in the navigation everything ends up being, where your constituent mail and where like listing of committees and things like that. Still very much everybody kind of follows the same method from those days. So it was really neat, interesting opportunity, and I got the opportunity during college, during breaks, to go back to DC and work in my local office to work for legislators, doing very much the same two things. And when I started law school, I did the same thing. I got to work on the Judiciary Committee in the Senate, which was really neat during the time of Napster and
oh yeah,
a lot of copyright debates and fights, and
like the big tech boom in the early aughts, right?
Tech boom and the big pitch for selling digital stuff online.
Yeah, that's true.
And like I said, Napster was the big thing. We installed Napster on a bunch of Senate computers to help them understand what it was to use this technology and how it made it, number one, easy to get access to that, but also to help them understand, what the ramifications are for that. Like selling that stuff online, is it easier to sell online? Is it hard? And helping them to understand. And, famous hearings with Senator Hatch talking to the RIA saying, hey, you need to be making this stuff available. And it was really neat times, right? I'm in the background of a lot of different epic kind of tech debates, especially on Capitol Hill.
That's awesome.
When the iPhone came out, and there was a lot of talk about using and making apps available on the iPhone and things like that. Senator Markey used my iPhone during the hearing because I was just a staffer and was able to give it to him. So it's
your iPhone is famous. Is that what
my iPhone is famous. Yeah. So it was really just an important and neat time in technology to be working on tech policy, and I was one of the few early folks at the time who kind of had this spanned both C's of that, right? So on the policy side, working on the policy, but also
Mhm.
having enough of a tech background to be informative and help people understand what the tech policy is.